My cousin turned to me in the lawyer's office and screamed, "You brainwashed Grandma!" I just smiled and said nothing because I knew exactly what was coming next. See, my grandma had been living with my aunt and cousin for 15 years. They treated her like a maid. She cooked, cleaned, and watched their kids while they went on vacations without her. I visited once a month and noticed how exhausted she looked. One day I asked if she was okay, and she broke down crying. She said they made her feel like a burden even though she paid half the bills with her pension. I told her she could live with me anytime. A month later, she called and said she was ready to leave. I picked her up the next morning while they were at work. We didn't tell them until she was already moved into my guest room. My aunt went ballistic. She called me a manipulator and said I stole Grandma for her money. The truth is, Grandma had been saving for years and had a decent amount put away. She also owned a rental property nobody talked about because my aunt assumed it would go to her. 6 months after Grandma moved in, she seemed like a different person. She was laughing again, going to bingo with her friends, and even started painting. She told me those 2 years with me were the happiest she'd been since Grandpa died. Then one day she asked me to drive her to a lawyer's office. She said she wanted to update her will. I didn't ask questions, I just took her. I waited in the lobby while she met with the lawyer for over an hour. When she came out, she had this peaceful look on her face. She grabbed my hand and said, "Thank you for letting me feel like myself again." 2 years later, Grandma passed away peacefully in her sleep. The funeral was tense because my aunt kept giving me dirty looks. She kept asking when we'd discuss Grandma's asset, and I told her the lawyer would handle everything. A week after that, we all got letters to attend the reading of the will. My aunt showed up in designer clothes, clearly expecting a big payout. That's when my cousin started screaming at me in front of the lawyer. Grandma left me the house I'd been renting from her, along with her savings to cover the mortgage. My aunt got the rental property, but there was a catch. Grandma had stopped maintaining it years ago, and it needed $80,000 in repairs before it could be rented again. My cousin got her old jewelry, which was worth maybe $2,000. The lawyer then read a letter Grandma had written. It said, "To my daughter who made me feel invisible, thank you for showing me I deserved better. To my granddaughter who only called when she needed money, I hope you learned that love isn't transactional. And to my grandson who gave me a home when I had nowhere else to go, this is my thank you." My aunt's face turned bright red, and she stood up, knocking her chair over. She accused me of forging the letter and manipulating a sick old woman. The lawyer calmly said he'd witnessed Grandma sign it herself, and she'd been of sound mind. He even pulled out a video recording of her reading the letter aloud as proof. In the video, Grandma looked directly at the camera and said, "I'm doing this because I finally feel valued, and I want to reward the person who gave me that gift." My cousin was still yelling about brainwashing when I finally spoke. I looked her dead in the eye and said, "I didn't brainwash her, I just treated her like family. Maybe if you'd done the same, you wouldn't be stuck with a broken rental property that's going to drain every penny you thought you'd inherit." My aunt started crying and said we were supposed to be family. I told her family doesn't make their mother sleep on a couch while the guest room stays empty. Then I walked out. Behind me, I could hear my aunt sobbing and my cousin threatening to sue. But I knew they had nothing. Grandma had made sure of that.